His hands roamed over me as if I were a novel he longed to delve into. Tracing every curve, every inch, every soft sigh I struggled to suppress. Once more, I found myself embodying the essence of womanhood. More than a widow, more than merely a mother. I was yearned. Welcome to Man Story, the place to store emotional love stories. Don't forget to like the video. Share your thoughts in the comments section. And subscribe to stay updated with our latest stories. Wishing you enjoyable, relaxing moments. Thank you. He is 21, and I am 50. The passage of time has not hindered my spirit. A knock echoed through the stillness, marking the beginning of an unforeseen chapter. A delicate, soothing rap that bore no hint of distress. Merely a tender nudge that life continued to unfold beyond the serene confines of my home. I strolled to the door clad in my robe, my hair still clinging to moisture from the lackluster shower I had indulged in earlier that morning. As I unlatched the door, my mind conjured images of the mailman or perhaps a familiar neighbor standing on the threshold. Yet, it was John, the son of my closest companion, adorned in a white tank top that embraced his chest and accentuated his arms perfectly. His curls tumbled in delightful disarray, and his smile radiated youthful charm. "Greetings, Miss Sarah," he remarked, raising a small box aloft. "My mother requested that I deliver this to you." His voice resonated with a depth I had long forgotten. For a fleeting instant, I found myself blinking, then a smile broke across my face. "John, oh, my goodness. It has been months since our paths last crossed." As he passed the package to me, a delicate blend of soap and cologne intertwined with the warmth of sunlight wafted through the air. "Indeed, I've been quite occupied with my studies and various commitments. However, my mother emphasized that this held great significance." "Enter," I beckoned, moving aside to make way. "Allow me the pleasure of offering you some refreshing lemonade." He paused, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. "Only if you are certain." I must insist. As he entered, there was an effortless grace to his movements, a blend of relaxation and confidence that left my throat parched. Perhaps it was the manner in which his tank unveiled just enough to conjure the rest in one's mind. Perhaps I had simply been adrift in solitude for far too long. I filled 2 glasses and offered him one. For a fleeting moment, our fingers grazed against one another. He gazed at me with his deep brown eyes, a smile playing on his lips. "By the way, you look fantastic." I chuckled, perhaps a touch too hastily. "This ancient robe protests." "No, seriously," he said, taking a sip. "You continue to possess that remarkable quality." The words lingered in the air between us, ethereal and elusive, much like wisps of smoke. Perilous, sugary haze. The living room was our gathering place. I folded my legs, a sudden consciousness washing over me regarding the way my robe hung loosely around me. John's gaze darted, if only for a fleeting moment, to my exposed thigh before he averted his eyes with a semblance of decorum. I cleared my throat, the sound echoing softly in the stillness. "How is school treating you these days?" "Boring," he remarked, a grin spreading across his face. "I would prefer to engage in an activity that involves my hands." I took a deep breath. The atmosphere shifted. Perhaps it was merely a figment of my imagination. Perhaps it was merely my own wild musings. Yet, I sensed it deeply. I savored another sip of lemonade, striving to maintain a buoyant tone. "It seems you have quite the knack for handling tools, don't you?" "Indeed," he remarked. "Occasionally, I lend a hand to my uncle with various plumbing tasks." In an instant, a thought emerged in my mind, seemingly pure on the surface, yet tinged with a shadowy undertone beneath. "My shower has been behaving oddly," I remarked. "Minimal pressure. Cold water is something I truly despise. Would you mind taking a moment to examine this?" He straightened his posture. "At this moment? Should you find yourself with time to spare?" He flashed a grin. "Take the helm." I escorted him to the bathroom. With each step, my robe swayed, and I found no reason to adjust it. He sank to his knees beside the tub, turning knobs and inspecting pipes with meticulous care. I lingered in the shadows, observing the way the sinewy muscles of his back shifted beneath the delicate fabric of his tank top. "There's a leak down here," he remarked, extending his hand deeper into the shadows. "It seems a washer may need to be replaced." Is it possible to mend this? Indeed, it seems a trip to the hardware store may be in order. I nestled beside him, drawing nearer than necessary. Our shoulders brushed against each other. His breath seemed to hang in the air for a fleeting moment. He gazed at me, and this time, he held my stare. Our faces hovered in proximity, excessively silent. His gaze lingered on my lips before drifting down the soft cascade of my robe. I ought to have distanced myself. I ought to have spoken up. Yet, I refrained. He did not either. The quiet conveyed our unspoken thoughts. "Thank you, John," I murmured. "What is the purpose?" His voice was a hushed whisper, cloaked in mystery, for rekindling that spark of emotion within me once more. He remained silent. He simply gazed at me. In that instant, I realized everything had shifted. That night, I reclined in bed, my fingers brushing against my lips as if he had pressed his own against them. He had not at this moment. Yet, I yearned for him too. I ought not to have done that. He was the son of my closest friend. Youthful, strikingly attractive, inquisitive, yet, desire knows no boundaries, and I had merely unlatched the door to a realm that I could never shut again. The following morning, thoughts of John consumed my mind. Those eyes of his, those hands of his gaze held a depth that suggested I was more than merely a mother. More than just an aging widow draped in silk. I stood before the mirror, gently brushing my hair. My robe cinched a touch more snugly today. Yet, I observed the way my skin radiated, as if it held onto the memory of his warmth, despite the fact that he had not laid a finger on me. A familiar knock echoed at the door once more. My heart leapt. Could it have been him? I opened it, and indeed, there he stood, John. Yet, on this occasion, he was not clad in a tank top. He donned a fitted black t-shirt that accentuated his chest, with jeans that draped perfectly. In his grasp, he cradled a small, unassuming brown bag. He lifted the bag and declared that he had brought the washer. "I intended to complete the repairs on your shower." A soft laugh escaped my lips, a feeble attempt to mask the rapid thumping of my heart. "Your kindness knows no bounds." He entered once more, as if he had always been a part of this place. He moved with an ease that spoke of confidence, exuding a quiet strength that was both captivating and reassuring. We made our way to the bathroom once more. The fabric of my robe whispered against my thighs. His eyes caught sight but swiftly moved on. He sank to his knees beside the tub, unfastened the bag, and began his task with focused intent. I perched on the rim of the tub, observing him intently. I made a conscious effort to avert my gaze. Yet, I stumbled. "You keep looking at me," he said, his gaze fixed elsewhere. A smile graced my lips. "Your appearance is quite pleasing." He raised his eyes gradually, locking onto my gaze. "You are as well." Once more, that silence enveloped the space, drawing you in more profoundly than any words could convey. "In need of a towel?" I inquired abruptly, rising to my feet with unexpected haste. "Indeed," he remarked. "My hands are damp." I pivoted and made my way to the linen cabinet. The fabric of my robe gently slid down my shoulder. I left it as it was. As I pivoted once more, he was there, now nearer than he had been. Water cascaded from his fingertips. In this moment, I leaned in softly, offering him the towel. He accepted it, yet rather than drying his hands immediately, he lifted his fingers and delicately brushed a droplet of water from my collarbone. His touch was gentle, insufficiently firm. I drew in a quick breath. "Sarah," he uttered, as if seeking confirmation. As I gazed into his eyes, guilt was absent, only warmth, desire, marvel. I allowed him to continue. His hand glided to my waist. And then, in an instant, his lips found theirs on mine. It lacked speed. It lacked a sense of wildness. The pace was languid, delightful. Experimentation. I surrendered to him, my fingers gliding along his chest, sensing the rapid rhythm of his heartbeat mirroring my own. He withdrew, ever so slightly. Since yesterday, he expressed a desire to do that. I took a deep breath. I have desired that long before you arrived at my door. That revelation shattered the barrier that existed between us. He pressed his lips against mine once more, this time with a greater intensity. My robe slipped ajar, and I made no effort to close it. His hands roamed over me as if I were a novel he longed to delve into. Tracing every curve, every inch, every soft sigh I struggled to suppress. Once more, I found myself embodying the essence of womanhood. More than a widow, more than merely a mother. I was yearned for, yearned, vibrant. In the quiet aftermath, we found ourselves sprawled on the plush bathroom rug. Our bodies entwined, hearts racing in unison. Silence enveloped us, each moment stretching as we hesitated to break the stillness. At last, John murmured, "Was that all right?" I shifted my gaze and regarded him. "Superior to merely satisfactory. I didn't mean to pressure you." He added, "I mentioned that you did not." This desire burned within me just as fiercely as it did within you. He smiled, a genuine, radiant smile that rendered him even more youthful, yet somehow more robust. I suggested that perhaps it would be best to keep this to ourselves. He inclined his head in acknowledgement. They simply wouldn't grasp it. I gazed up at the ceiling. I find myself perplexed by it all. Yet I hold no regrets. Yet, I refrained. In that cozy, inviting bathroom, I rediscovered something I believed was gone forever: desire. Touch. Connection. A yearning that transcends solitude. It arrived in the guise of a 21-year-old boy, awakening within me the essence of womanhood once more. The following morning, I found myself clad in John's black t-shirt. The scent was reminiscent of him, fresh, youthful, and brimming with playful mischief. He departed after our fleeting encounter in the bathroom, a nervous smile dancing on his lips and a blush coloring his cheeks. Yet, just before crossing the threshold, he drew me in for one final kiss. "Take your time this round." Lengthier, as if he longed to etch the memory of my flavor into his mind. As I strolled barefoot into my kitchen, his shirt cascading to mid-thigh, the lingering warmth of his hands enveloped me. The tingling lingered, refusing to fade. I filled my cup with steaming coffee, settled at the counter, and gazed out the window. The sun hung high in the sky. The melodious chirping of birds filled the air. Yet within me, a tempest had begun to brew. What actions did we undertake? I found myself at the age of 50. At the age of 19. He stood on the precipice of adulthood, the son of my closest companion. I ought to have put an end to it. I ought to have distanced myself from him. Yet, I refrained. For the first time in years, I felt the warmth of a touch. Truly moved, beyond mere contact. It is a connection of souls. He illuminated my existence. At the stroke of noon, my phone vibrated with a sudden buzz. A piece of writing. "John, would it be all right if I dropped by later?" I gazed at the message, allowing it to linger in my thoughts for a moment. My thumbs lingered above the keyboard, poised for action. I did indeed type that response. Doors swing wide. My heart raced the instant I pressed send. At 2 p.m., he reappeared in my doorway, a bag of groceries in hand. "I thought I might whip up something special for you today," he remarked as he crossed the threshold. "Are you cooking now?" I inquired, arching an eyebrow. He offered a grin. "Not particularly well, but I make an effort." I departed and guided him toward the kitchen. He placed the bag on the ground and extracted pasta, ripe tomatoes, and a modest block of cheese. In that fleeting moment, he appeared utterly innocent, so achingly normal. This was hardly unusual. This was our routine, a familiar dance we had perfected over time. As he brought the water to a rolling boil for the pasta, I busied myself with the knife, skillfully chopping the ripe tomatoes. We toiled together, our shoulders brushing against each other from time to time. At times, our fingers brushed against one another as we both reached for the same spoon. Fleeting glimmers, innocuous yet undeniably alluring. "Sarah," he inquired softly, "what's that? Did I overstep my bounds yesterday?" I hesitated. My gaze fell upon him. What I witnessed transcended the mere image of a teenage boy infatuated. A man stood before me, brimming with questions and an insatiable curiosity. And perhaps, just perhaps, something more profound. "No," I whispered gently, "you have not crossed anything. We both embarked on a journey together." He inclined his head in acknowledgement. Yet, the stillness that ensued revealed his lingering uncertainty. He acknowledged, "I realize this isn't typical. You have gained more years. You are simply yourself. What am I? Exquisite, intelligent, beyond my reach." My eyelids fluttered momentarily. Then, a smile graced their lips. "Your kindness is truly delightful." His gaze lingered on me, hinting at unspoken words that danced on the tip of his tongue. Yet, he moved in closer, his fingers extended, brushing softly against my cheek. "May I kiss you once more?" he inquired, his voice scarcely rising above a whisper. I inclined my head in agreement, and in that fleeting moment, our lips found each other once more. Gentler this time, more unhurried, exercise greater caution. His arms encircled my waist, and I found myself surrendering to the warmth of his embrace. My hand glided beneath his shirt, fingers tracing the contours of his abdomen. He inhaled sharply, and that sound awakened a profound emotion within me. Our lips met fervently, the heat of the moment rising until the water erupted, hissing defiantly against the stove. Later, we found ourselves nestled on the couch, plates of half-eaten pasta resting in our laps, sharing laughter over the culinary disaster that had unfolded. "Perhaps we should have opted for pizza," I jested. He offered a smile. "In the future, I shall grant you the pleasure of taking charge in the kitchen." His hand lingered on my exposed thigh, fingers tracing delicate circles. I remained still. I remained unyielding. I desired it. It was essential for me. "Are you afraid?" he inquired abruptly. I paused to reflect. "Indeed. Yet, I find no remorse." He leaned closer, pressing his lips against my shoulder. "I feel the same way." Once more, the irresistible tug made its presence known. The tension that lingers between the purity of innocence and the allure of the forbidden. A whisper of mischief that beckons us closer to the edge of consequence. Yet, in that instant, it held no significance. What truly mattered was how his touch awakened a sense of blooming within me once more. Vibrant, seeking, adored? Not at this moment, yet perhaps, in the fullness of time. That evening, he lingered a bit longer before departing. We reclined in the soft embrace of the sheets, his chest pressed gently against my back, the warmth of his breath dancing along my neck. His hand sought mine beneath the sheets, grasping it with a firm, warm embrace, a sanctuary of safety. In that moment, it dawned on me, this transcended mere moments. This was evolving into something greater. A lurking peril, a tangible truth. To all my remarkable A Infidelity Stories subscribers, I extend my heartfelt gratitude for your unwavering support until the very end. You are the very essence that drives this channel forward. If you find yourself here for the first time, I invite you to press that subscribe button and join a community that embraces the courage to feel, love, and venture into the unknown. Let us plunge into the concluding chapter. The morning sun filtered through my bedroom window, painting golden stripes upon the sheets. John lay peacefully beside me, his hand delicately placed on my waist, his breath a gentle whisper against the nape of my neck. He appeared serene, so very young, such fragility. I observed him intently for an extended period. This young lad, this individual, the son of my closest companion. What journey has led us to this moment? How did a single package evolve into a fervent passion? With deliberate caution, I eased myself out of bed, mindful of the stillness that surrounded him. As I lingered before the mirror, drawing my robe tightly around me, the gravity of our actions finally pressed down upon my chest. What might others express? What words would escape her lips? His mother, my dearest companion for more than 2 decades? What would her gaze reveal if she were aware that her son had pressed his lips against mine, caressed my body, and breathed my name as I quivered beneath him? Could she ever find it in her heart to forgive me? Not long after, John stirred from his slumber. He approached me quietly in the kitchen, encircling my waist with his arms, and placed a tender kiss in the curve of my neck. "Morning," he murmured, his eyes still heavy with sleep, a smile playing on his lips. "Good morning," I murmured, yet, my voice carried a distinct quality. Strained. "Proceed with caution," he observed immediately. "What's the matter?" he inquired. I rotated within his embrace, cradling his face gently between my palms. "John, we must have a conversation." His smile dimmed. He was aware. "This can't keep happening," I murmured gently. "We ventured beyond boundaries, and I find no remorse in that decision. Yet, it is intricate, excessively intricate." He remained silent. He gazed into my eyes as if seeking something to grasp tightly. "You're at the age of 19, I added, "and here I am, just me." "You're not just anything," he said swiftly. You have occupied my thoughts since the very instant I stepped into your home." His words tugged at the strings of my heart. Yet, the clamor of my fear drowned out all else. "What would happen if your mother discovers the truth?" I murmured. "What if this shatters it all?" He advanced with measured intent, his hands softly clasping my hips. "In that case, we shall proceed with caution." "Yet, how much longer can we remain in the shadows?" I inquired. He paused, uncertainty flickering in his mind. In that moment of silence, an unspoken understanding settled between us. What we shared had transcended mere desire. It was perilous. It blazed fiercely, devoid of any water in sight. 2 days slipped away. I refrained from calling him. He failed to send a message. I repeatedly reassured myself that it had come to an end. Yet, on the third afternoon, the sound of my phone broke the silence. It was indeed her, the mother of John. My heart soared into my throat. I responded, making an effort to maintain a sense of normalcy. "Hello, darling," she said with a bright smile. "John mentioned that he stopped by to repair your shower. I appreciate your willingness to allow him to assist. He mentioned that being around you made him feel incredibly mature." I took a deep breath. "He was quite the assistance," I remarked with a measured tone. "I truly believe that young man is blossoming into quite the gentleman." She continued, "He mentioned that you prepared pasta for him as well, describing it as terrible yet endearing." I chuckled uneasily. He is indeed correct. A moment of silence lingered in the air, and then she uttered a phrase that sent a chill coursing through my veins. "You know," she said softly, "he speaks of you often." "Indeed, quite a substantial amount, beyond what a mere neighbor ought to do." My breath hitched. I can't quite grasp the situation. "Sarah," she continued, "but you mean the world to me. Like family, and I have faith in you." A knot of guilt coiled tightly within me. Faith, that was the word that shattered me. Under the cloak of night, I sent a message to John. "It is imperative that we cease our actions." His response came with remarkable swiftness. "What is the reason behind this?" "Your mother is beginning to have her suspicions. This cannot continue." A moment of stillness hung in the air. Then he conveyed, "But I love you." My fingers lingered, paralyzed above the screen. "Affection?" My eyes brimmed with tears. It had been years since anyone had uttered that word to me. Yet, I was acutely aware of the path I needed to take. "Then love me enough to release this," I replied, "prior to its annihilation of all that exists." His last words arrived. "You will forever be the first woman who awakened my spirit." It has been ages since I last laid eyes on John. Not since that fateful night. At times, I find myself poised by the window, anticipating a knock that remains elusive. Yet, I recall the tenderness of his touch, the sweetness of his kiss, as if I truly meant something to him. In that fleeting moment, I transcended the identity of a widow grappling with a faulty shower. I became a woman awakening to the sensation of being desired once more. At times, love arrives not wrapped in the promise of eternity. At times, it is merely a fleeting instant, a kiss taken in secret, a murmur in the shadows, and that must suffice.